All right, let's start with the big story that we're tracking at this hour, where the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is in India. Prime Minister Narendra Modi was personally at the Delhi airport to receive the Israeli Prime Minister, who's the first Israeli Prime Minister to visit India in more than a decade. The Prime Minister Modi hugged and shook hands with the Israeli Prime Minister, with whom he has developed a very warm rapport during his visit to Israel last year. Netanyahu is accompanied by a 130-member business delegation. From the airport, both the leaders then went to the Teen Murti Memorial to pay homage to the soldiers who died in Haifa during World War I. So these are the visuals that you see of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who was personally present at the time when Benjamin Netanyahu made his entry, landed in India. And then the two leaders were also at the Teen Murti Chowk, which has now been officially renamed as the Teen Murti Haifa Chowk after a ceremony marking the formal renaming of the Teen Murti Chowk as the Teen Murti Haifa Chowk. Now, Haifa, remember, is a port city in the state of Israel. And in the first official meeting, the Israeli Prime Minister will also be calling on India's External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj. Now, India is Israel's biggest arms market, buying a whopping $1 billion worth of military hardware every single year from the state of Israel. But the only complaint which India has with the state of Israel is that a technology transfer is not made along with the weapons purchased by the state of Israel. Now, Israel's state-owned defense contractor Rafale had announced on the 3rd of January that India had reportedly cancelled a $500 million order to buy its Spike anti-tank guided missiles. And according to reports that have come in, India will instead opt for homemade anti-tank missiles. Now, despite the cancellation of the missile deal, India's defense ministry has said that this month it had cleared a plan worth $72 million to buy 131 Barak surface-to-air missiles built by Rafale. Now, the two countries have grown closer since Narendra Modi became the Prime Minister in the year 2014, widening commercial cooperation beyond their long-standing defense ties. Now, in the month of July last year, Narendra Modi, of course, became the first Indian Prime Minister from India to visit the state of Israel in the last 70 years. Deals for oil and gas cooperation, cyber security and agricultural projects are on the cards. And after his visit to the capital, Netanyahu will also be visiting Taj Mahal in Agra, and then will be heading on to Ahmedabad, where he's also to visit the Sabarmati Ashram in Ahmedabad. And after that will be a grand sort of an event in Mumbai, where Prime Minister Netanyahu and his wife Sarah will be interacting with some of the top Bollywood celebrities, actors, producers and directors in a ceremony that is known as Shalom Netanyahu.
הערב אני יוצא לביקור היסטורי בהודו. אני אפגוש שם את ראש הממשלה, ידידי נרנדרה מודי, את נשיא הודו, מנהיגים רבים אחרים. אנחנו נחתום על הרבה מאוד הסכמים. אנחנו מחזקים את הקשר בין ישראל למעצמה העולמית החשובה הזאת. זה משרת אותנו בביטחון, בכלכלה, בסחר, בתיירות ובהרבה מאוד תחומים אחרים. זו ברכה גדולה מאוד למדינת ישראל.
Meanwhile, there are also reports that Netanyahu will be presenting a very special gift to Narendra Modi. He is reportedly going to give Prime Minister Narendra Modi the GAL mobile water desalinization and purification jeep. Now, back in June last year, Netanyahu and Modi had actually waded into the Mediterranean Sea and had rode the jeep on the coast during the latter's maiden visit to the state of Israel. And now Netanyahu is, of course, planning to gift the same jeep to Narendra Modi. This, of course, are the visuals from Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Israel in July. This jeep is a mobile desalinization sort of an equipment which can actually convert saline water into potable water, something that is being looked at in India in terms of providing potable drinking water in areas where it is not accessible. So it's not just defense, but also other areas in which India and Israel will, of course, be increasing their cooperation on. The Prime Minister Narendra Modi tweeted welcoming the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu in India. He said, and I quote, "A special welcome for a special visit. Prime Minister Narendra Modi personally receives the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu at Delhi airport. And what's also interesting and points towards the growing relationship between India and Israel is the gesture of putting out a tweet in Hebrew by Prime Minister Modi welcoming Prime Minister Netanyahu. And also the Israeli Prime Minister reciprocated the gesture where he also took to Twitter just moments after he was received by the Indian Prime Minister. He said, and I quote, "We have landed in India. Thank you to my good friend Narendra Modi for the very warm welcome." And also immediately after Prime Minister Netanyahu's arrival in Delhi, both leaders arrived at the Teen Murti Memorial for a very solemn ceremony. Now, both the leaders laid a wreath and then signed the visitors' book. The ceremony marks the formal renaming of the Teen Murti Chowk as the Teen Murti Haifa Chowk. Now, the three bronze statues of the Teen Murti represent the Hyderabad, Jodhpur and Mysore Lancers. They were part of the 15 Imperial Service Cavalry Brigade. The brigade carried out the assault on Haifa on the 23rd of September in the year 1918 during the First World War. Now, the capture of Haifa had cleared a route for the Allies to the city through the sea. The 44 Indian soldiers had been martyred during the liberation of the city of Haifa during the First World War. Now, the 61st Cavalry Regiment celebrates the 23rd of September as the Haifa Rising Day. And also in an exclusive interview to WION's senior international affairs correspondent Ramesh Ramachandran, the Israeli ambassador to India, Daniel Carman, has said that India and Israel share a rich and a strong relationship. Let's listen in to what the Israeli ambassador had to say.
May I begin by asking you, in terms of optics, have the cancellation of the Spike anti-tank missile or India's vote for the UNGA resolution come as a disappointment to Israel? Were you surprised at all by the decisions? And also, has Israel put those developments behind it ahead of the visit?
I would not want to comment specifically on those areas that you mentioned, because the relationship, and this will be reflected during the Prime Minister's visit, as all our relationship are reflected in the last few years, by the fact that the relationship are larger than specific events. I don't want to mention specifically the cancellation of the Spike, because I would just tell you that there are processes that have take their time. What will be reflected during this visit is the fact that those relations are rich. They are all-weather relation. It's an all-weather relationship. Sometimes we have and we can speak, and we do speak all the time. We have a wonderful relationship on the governmental level. But I would like to add an ingredient that needs strengthening, and it will be strengthened, which is the involvement of the business community in these relations and the people-to-people connect. Experimenting the GAL mobile desalinating and water purifying vehicle. Minutes later, I said goodbye to the vehicle, because we have a vehicle that came here a couple of days ago, and it will be it will be gifted to Prime Minister Modi. We just took it out of the customs yesterday. We are sending it to Gujarat, and I think this will be a wonderful continuity of what started on the beach near Tel Aviv.
And also the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his wife Sarah are big fans of Bollywood movies. So it comes as no surprise that on the Mumbai leg of his India visit, Netanyahu will be meeting with Bollywood celebrities. But it seems that the fascination with Bollywood is more for political reasons rather than for personal ones. Here's why.
2 weeks ago, New Zealand singer Lorde decided to cancel her performance in Israel after appeals by pro-Palestinian activists. This was just one example of the boycott, divestment and sanctions movement against Israel. The movement is a global campaign attempting to increase pressure on Israel to stop oppression of Palestinians. The movement was founded in 2005 and has been backed by celebrities like Stephen Hawking, Angela Davis and Judith Butler. But as Israel fights cultural boycott, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is planning to meet the who's who of the Indian film industry in a special event called Shalom Bollywood in Mumbai. Netanyahu is expected to appeal to Bollywood to shoot films in Israel and offer tax breaks. This comes as no surprise as Bollywood films shot in foreign countries have boosted tourism significantly. Films like Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara was shot in Spain, and Kaho Na Pyar Hai, which was filmed in New Zealand, worked wonders to push tourism in those countries. In fact, cultural diplomacy between the two countries seems to already have taken off. Just last year, a song sequence for the soon-to-be-released Bollywood movie Drive was shot in Tel Aviv, marking the commencement of the association between Bollywood and Israel. And just last week, Bollywood stars Ranbir Kapoor and Alia Bhatt were in Israel for a recce of their upcoming action-adventure film. So, will Netanyahu be able to woo more Bollywood talent? And could the world's most prolific film industry be on its way to the Holy Land soon? Bureau Report, WION.
So this is an unprecedented step.
It's not only for the Indian judiciary, but for Indian democracy.
Their conscience has been pricking them, and that's why they have chosen to take this unprecedented step.
The Chief Justice that certain things are not in order, therefore he should take remedial measures. Unfortunately, our efforts failed.
I think all four should be impeached. They should be set out.
All right, let's now shift our focus to the other big story that we are tracking, where 2 days after 4 Supreme Court judges had gone public with their grievances and triggered a judicial crisis, the reports emerged that the Chief Justice of India, Deepak Mishra, may meet the dissenting judges today to resolve the crisis. After the controversy, the two judges, Justice Kurian Joseph and Justice Ranjan Gogoi, had sought to play the issue. Justice Kurian Joseph said, and I quote, "This is not an issue that requires mediation from outside. This is an internal issue of the institution, and the institution will sort it out. The correction inside the institution is what is required." Meanwhile, the Bar Council of India has also made a mediation bid to try and resolve the crisis amicably. The Bar Council has formed a 7-member panel to meet the rebel judges. The council has also chided the judges for going public with their grievances instead of resolving the matter internally. The Bar Council has expressed hope of finding a resolution soon. Separately, the Supreme Court Bar Association also met on Saturday evening and urged that public interest litigations must be taken up by the Chief Justice of India in order to maintain credibility.
We have unanimously decided to form a 7-member delegation of the Council. This 7-member delegation will meet the honorable judges of the Supreme Court tomorrow. It should not go before media, it should not go to public. The institution has a very great value for the poor and innocent public of the country. The politics made out of the yesterday's issue, we will make a request to all the honorable judges that such opportunity, such chance should not be given in future.
Everybody would want to protect the Supreme Court, and that is the very important pillar of democracy. But if they had to come for a press conference, they should have said something substantial. And just creating doubts in the mind of the people will not serve the interest of the judiciary. So I think this was a little not properly planned. If at all they had something very sensational to say, they should have thought it over first and then said it, rather than only suggesting something and leaving it to the minds of the people to keep guessing. And all kind of wild guessing will go really all over the country, and all kinds of things will be said about the Supreme Court.
Now, at an unprecedented press conference on Friday, the judges had said that they went public after their attempts to alert the Chief Justice about their concerns had failed to make any progress. The four judges, Justice Chalameshwar, along with Justice Ranjan Gogoi, Justice Lokar and also Justice Joseph Kurian, had alleged that the administration of the top court is not in order and that the CJI, the Chief Justice of India, was assigning cases with far-reaching consequences selectively to the benches of his preference with no rationale.